point, we have that opening press conference. It's upon us now. Summer's over and time to get back to work. But we're excited. I mean, I'm excited as a head coach. Our staff's really excited. Our players excited. They've got to go home for a couple of days now. They left on Friday, and they'll report back here on Thursday. We'll actually start practice Friday, and of course Sunday is going to be a fan day and media day where the fans will get a chance to meet the new players and spend some time with them. So, like I say, we're on the ninth, hard to believe we're on the ninth season, but I'm more excited now than I've ever been. I like our team, I like where we are at this point, and challenge the schedule and everything. You got to look forward to get to work as quick as we can. The format of the practices and the number of days has changed a little bit, so we got to adjust accordingly. This time last year we were already practicing. We lost 5 practices, not just us, but everybody did. Of course, lost 5 practices in about 4 or 5 days. So we got some catching up to do, and we're anxious to get started.
As things get underway, all eyes are going to be on that quarterback spot. You and I talked about that briefly a couple weeks ago, but in seeing Alex this summer, what have you seen from him that helps him get acclimated quickly to this system?
Well, I saw a guy come in and go to work extremely hard, which is what as a transfer student, especially at the quarterback position, you got to earn the respect of your teammates. And I saw a guy come in and not say a whole lot and just go to work and try to work as hard or harder than the rest of his teammates. I thought he handled the actual conditioning and skill development part of it extremely well, probably better than I ever thought he would. But until we can get out there and we can't have a ball in the summertime, so playing without a ball is a little difficult. So we get out there on Friday, we got a ball in his hand and see what he can do. We're excited, looking forward to that. But Isaiah and Garrett have also had tremendous summers, so it'll be a great challenge. What you hope happens, it's been my experience over a number of years, is you hope somebody separates pretty soon, especially with the number of days we have. You'd like to see somebody separate. Sometimes when you think you've got 2 or 3, you don't have any. So you hope that one of those guys separate early and get settled in there and get ready to play.
Doctor, how does a guy like that come in and kind of ingratiate himself to the players? Like you said, put your nose down and work hard, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think just getting, just to gain respect for your teammates by the way you go about your business, the way you live your life, the way you go to work. And he did that. I mean, he came in and he's a tremendous student, finance graduate, and had a graduate class this summer. He got an A in class, of course, and he just came from day one. And this was the most difficult summer we've ever had as a team, as far as the work we put in. And he just, some different things that our strength coaches did throughout the summer that a lot of guys didn't make it through the workouts and had to come back and repeat them the next day. And he never had that. He was not one guy that ever had to make up anything. He always did it right the first time, and so I thought that was important. He handled the workload that we gave him, and of course, where he came from, they didn't have the workload that he's got here, so I thought he adapted and handled it well.
The dynamic going into the fall, is it, you do have 2 new coordinators, but you have so many returning veterans. Is it almost like everybody starts over, or is there a lot of continuity that you get to work with there because of their experience?
I think defensively there's a lot of continuity because Adam was here 5 years under Chuck, and I mentioned before when I hired Adam, I hired him knowing that lose Chuck someday, so the transition would be easy there. And what also has made that easy is we just have so many starters back. We got so many players back that was played, and I think we have some good players back, so that's helped the transition on defense. I think offensively, I thought Tim did a great job of just adapting our terminology to his offense. What he wanted to do. We didn't go in and totally wholesale the whole offense as far as terminology is concerned. So the formations are basically calling the same and that type of thing, but he just adapted his offense to our terminology, and I thought that helped. But also having the entire offensive line back, all the receivers, the running backs, everything in place, that helps that transition as well.
You mentioned that offensive line, and Nate Devers, is he back and full, ready to go as far as fall goes?
Yeah, as far as I know, he's back. He's practiced. He's been working out every day with the team, so we'll see where that goes.
Okay, including him, you've got six guys with starting experience back along that offensive front, which
including him, yes, 6. All 5 of those guys that started the last 4 or 5 games, or basically all year. Led by Levi Brown, of course, at center, and Dower's been a 2 or 3 year starter. Millette and the 3 freshmen and all played multiple games a year ago. Tariq Adams, I think, started 12 games. And, Omer, after the NC State games, he had a lot of starts as well as Millette did. So those guys are, anytime you give those guys an opportunity to get a year stronger and a year better, it's going to help them. And you see the maturity, at that. And and we got some good young, Alex Locklear has as good a summer as he's had, which that's going to help us with some in there too. So we're excited about him and some of the younger players.
I know that you all can't get a ball in the summer, but with those guys, they don't necessarily need a ball. What have you seen the biggest growth that they've had with Greg Atkins?
Well, I mean, Greg's an excellent coach. He's got great experience and he's coached a lot of tremendous offensive lines. And yeah, I think just watching those guys go to work every day. Greg gets to know them a little better. They get to know Greg a little better. And but you can see, the great thing now is we're able to get around these kids a couple times a week during the summer, which helps. Especially the young kids coming in. Those young freshmen coming in. We've had the opportunity to get around those guys about 6 weeks now. So, it gives those guys. You don't ever hope those young offensive linemen don't have to play. But for example, the Dalton kid was here all summer. He's a good-looking prospect. And with the new rule, you got to try to. We've had a lot of conversations as a staff of, those guys can actually play 4 games now. So how do you prepare to, at some point get those guys ready if their numbers call, especially as you get towards the end of the year on special teams. For example, Knox last year could have gone in and maybe help us on special teams. It would have been tremendous for Isaiah Green last year to go ahead and play 2 or 3 games. If you got in that position, see what he could do and not lose your eligibility. So that rule changes some things, but as a staff, you got to figure out how to get the young freshmen enough reps so that they get to a point where you got to play them that they're prepared to go play, because you never want to put a kid in a game and jeopardize winning or losing the game for what's going on.
How much does that change the preseason makeup that your all's plan as a staff as far as repetition and splitting things up during the preseason practices, trying to get ready for that new rule?
We've talked a lot about that, and we're the deepest that we've ever been since I've been here. We got our total of 85. Scholarships are all full. We had 107 kids here this summer. They've also increased your numbers from 105 to 110. So we have actually 110 bodies out there that we actually will have a 4, 1, 2, and 3 units. So, for that first 5 days of that acclimation period, we're gonna actually work with 3 teams. Have a first, second, a full third team for the first at least 4 days, and see if we can find some young kids that can help us, and then we'll start to start to work those guys in with possibly 2s and 2s become 1s, that type of thing.
To make every rep more meaningful because you've got increased numbers, yet the number of practices decrease slightly?
It does. I don't think there's any question it does, because you had 4 to 5 extra practices a year ago, plus you had those extra days in between. Last year we practiced 3 days after that first group. We didn't have a day off. You had more days off a year ago too. So the structure has changed, but I think that everybody's got the same. Everybody comes at the same time. If you look around the country, everybody's reporting on Thursday. So we're all in the same boat as far as that's concerned. So we just have to continue to make sure we take advantage of every opportunity we get as far as practice is concerned. To do a great job with preparation and practice.
How about your schedule, Doc? You guys jump right in on the road.
We do. I'd say anytime you go on the road, it's hard. There's no question. We're going to go on and have a great challenge with Miami's a little bit like we are. They got them all back. The quarterback's back. And had some injuries a little bit a year ago with the quarterback, but he's back, and they're picked, I think, second in their league on their side. So people have a lot of respect for what they do have coming back. But it'll be a great challenge for us on the road that first game. But we've got a lot of guys back too, and we have to make sure that we're ready. If you look around, not only that you get to go on the road and play Miami, but you also get the chance to go on the road and play South Carolina. At least picked second in the East in the SEC, and NC State's picked in the top 3 in their league on their side. So those are both challenging games. But what people fail to realize a little bit is how far our conference has come. We had 10 teams qualified for bowls, and 9 of them went to bowls. So you're going to line up every week, not only out of conference but in our conference, and you better go play your league. From top to bottom, our conference is the best it's been since I've been in the league. And, but to go in and talking to the other coaches around the league, everybody feels the same way. And the middle opens up, and they've got Vandy and a couple other SEC schools early on, so we all have the same challenges. We just have to make sure we're
From a defensive line standpoint, I know that obviously Ryan B, Channing Haynes, those guys in the middle, but defensive end spot is something that's kind of intriguing with Jawan Young moving down there, and young guys like Kobe Cumberlander and some of those guys coming up.
Hodge and Cumberland are 2 tremendous looking young prospects that we're anxious to see the pads on. They've had great off seasons. They both bring a lot of energy to practice or to the workouts. And very talented guys. So you add those two guys to the mix. Ty Tyler. Hopefully, if Cumberlander and Hodge can be what we think they are, then that'll give us a chance to play Ty inside a little more, which gives us a little bit more depth inside with Ty, Malik, B, and Ames. And so we'll see how that goes. But Couch is just a good football player. Couch is a guy that played an awful lot for us a year ago. He's an excellent football player. So we feel like we've gotten a lot of depth up front. Feel good about our linebacker depth. We got to come up with another corner. It's going to be early on in camp that. We talk about, before there's also always been a lot of young players that are trying, we're not looking for a lot of young players to come up and give us immediate help at this point. However, we are looking for a young corner to come in and plug into that nickel spot or a wide corner spot if we can rotate somebody else. And we like where we are at safety. Linebackers are solid at this point. And then we probably need one more receiver that can step up out of a couple of those young guys to start to give us a little bit of depth there. But overall, we're not looking for a lot of young guys to come in and play immediately. We would like for some young guys to come in and provide some help.
There's been a lot of talk about Tyree at that receiver position and the leadership he brings, but you look and you've got Willie and Marcel, both guys that have been there for a while. So it's not just Tyree; it's sort of a compilation of targets that have some experience from last year.
Well, and Marcel Williams, as you mentioned, I think he's an excellent player. Provides great leadership. Willie's come a long ways. I like Obi a lot. Obi's another guy that's had tremendous all season. And those four guys have all played a lot of football for us. And then what you got to try to do now is just try to find one or two more that you can throw in the mix there, somewhere along the line. And, we've had Sheldon Evans is a good young back that we've got that's had a great summer that we haven't seen a whole lot of. But you got Keon, you got of course Tyler, and you got Anthony Anderson had a great spring. You got Knox, so you got some depth there too. So we've got some good young players that we'll have to see what they can do where they can plug in. I think because of the young players that we have that are good players, our special teams have got to continue to get better. And we play. Part of the reason we've had success is the way we play special teams around here, and that's got some good young players that we think can really help us in that area.
Because you know what Tyler King and Keon can both do. Do you sort of give Anderson and Knox and Sheldon Evans, those guys, a little bit extra look in the early preseason just because you do want to see what they can do?
Well, you have to get them ready to play. Those guys have to get enough reps to get ready to play. And but we're going to be plenty of time to see Knox and Anderson and Knox both got a lot of work in the spring. We found out a lot what they could do in the spring. That's what we wanted to handle it. But a little bit. Sheldon Evans is a young guy that we want to see early on here in practice, see what he can do, along with some of the young receivers we brought in, some young corners.
Possibly one of the bigger losses you had was Vedvik, and trying to make sure that you do, keep the special teams on target with where you expect it to be. How have Justin and McDonough and some of those guys sort of taken that task on?
Well, those guys have all. And we did the same thing with Vedvik and those guys in the past. They leave for most of the month in July to work at kicky camps, with professional athletes and all those guys. They travel on their own all over the country, and they work, and it's helped them. I know Justin went up and worked out with Vedvik up at the Titans, or wherever he is up there, and Vedvik's done a tremendous job. I mean, he's really doing a nice job hunting and kicking. But I like those two guys. I like both Lefevre and I like McDonough's come a long ways. And I like where we are with Justin. So I think we'll be fine there.
Yeah, you mentioned you got your full 85 scholarships. I think you've put a few walk-ons on scholarship now. Can you mention those?
Yeah, we put Nazi Johnson. It's amazing with the two safeties and what's happened, not just since I've been here, but the walk-ons here have been tremendous. I mean, you look at Malik Gant was a walk-on, Nazi Johnson was a walk-on. Both those guys are both as good at two safeties as probably as in our league. But put Nazi on, Kane Madden we put on, there's another walk-on we put on offensive lineman. It's going to be a backup for us. So if I missed anybody,
Tyler Brown.
Tyler Brown did go on. Yes, Tyler Brown did.
Is Joey Maddox on scholarship?
It just depends on where we are number-wise.
Okay.
Yes. He is right now.
Mm-hmm.
As walk-ons, you can take them on and take them off, just based on where your numbers are. You can help them and that type of thing, which we try to help as many. And like I say, you go back and look at some of the walk-ons from Bazzi to Talafaro to Van Horn to Chase Hancock is another example of guys that really developed as walk-ons here.
Well, you mentioned the walk-ons. I mean, you've got Hancock that's on several national award lists now. You've got Malik Gant that spring 2017, like you said, he was walking on, nobody knew who he was, and now he's on the Thorpe Award list. What is it about this place and your all's ability to sort of recognize those guys and dig a little deeper that you all have been successful with walk-ons?
I'd like to be able to sit and tell you we did such a great job recruiting Malik Gant, but he's here because of the exchange deal we have with the DC area. You know, those kids in DC can come here as in-state students. You know, so you get a lot of those kids that come here, you know, as in-state students, and that's huge. You don't get a lot of them, but there's a reason that we got Malik. And Nazi's just a guy that we a lot of these walk-ons we spend time recruiting. And a lot of these guys they're just undeveloped kids. And I think the one thing we have done here is done a good job developing players, through our weight program and all that. I think that Chase Hancocks and Van Horns and Bazzies and Talaferros and Nazis and Maliks are examples of that.
Anything else?
Okay, guys, thanks.